Well, hello team, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 7 limiting beliefs that I have discovered that many people have on their weight loss journey that actually keeps them stuck. And I thought, why not pull them all together and talk about them today? Now, please buckle up. We got a big one. So grab yourself a cup of tea or something like that and just settle in for the ride. Or actually, while we're there, grab yourself a notepad and pen, take some notes. The way I see it, weight loss requires two things that are working together. And many people would probably say that is like nutrition and exercise, right? Yeah, sure. But what I say is strategy and internal game. So food and nutrition fit into the strategy side of it. And the internal game needs to be right as well. It's not one or the other, it's actually both working together. And what do I mean by internal game? I mean your belief systems. I mean how you're dealing with things like stress and emotions. It's everything that is inside of you, everything that is pre programmed into you from childhood. It all needs to be on the same path as your goals. Otherwise, you will not get to the goal. And the reason why these need to work together is because you can have the best mindset and the best beliefs, all the motivation, all the right internal game. But if your strategy is not actually creating a calorie deficit for you, then you're not going to actually lose weight. And the reverse is equally true. You can have the perfect strategy, like the right foods, the right proportions, the right approach, but if your internal game is off, if you don't believe that you can succeed, if there is something inside of you that is actually scared of success, is worried about what might happen if you change, then you will not allow yourself to actually succeed. You will never actually execute consistently enough to be able to get to that goal and stay there for good. So this is where our beliefs undermine us on that path to success. And so we want to pay attention to what it is we actually do believe. And if you do find yourself having some of these beliefs that I'm going to go through, then you can work with them and start to change them. First of all, before we dive in, I want to say one thing about beliefs. And here's the thing, most people believe that their beliefs are just true, right? That's another belief. My belief is that my beliefs are true. What I believe to be true is true. But beliefs aren't actually facts. They are just a collection of words that are rolling around in our brain that we have decided is true. Just because we believe something is true, just because it feels like it's true, does not make it true. And beliefs about ourselves are often installed into us early in childhood. Our childhood beliefs are installed in us before our rational, logical prefrontal cortex is actually developed, fully developed. And half the time, we're not even aware that we have these beliefs. We just keep thinking them and believing them without even questioning them. And then our brain goes searching for evidence over time to prove time and time again that they are actually true. And that then is the lens through which we see the world. And over the course of a lifetime, we then end up producing a mountain more evidence that backs up our beliefs, that proves to ourselves that our beliefs are actually true. And then when someone challenges us on our beliefs, what we do is we fight tooth and nail to prove that our beliefs are true. And even when those beliefs that we're holding on to are actually hurting us or stopping us from achieving success, we will hold on to them. We will fight to keep them. And I know that this is all very conceptual right now. So let me give you a really good analogy to describe what I'm talking about in terms of how our beliefs are not necessarily true. And I'm going to play with this in a way that is kind of light and funny to get your buy-in here, but also to demonstrate that this is actually what I mean. So I want you to think back to when you were a child. And I want you to think about something that you fully believed when you were a child, like with every fiber of your little being, and that belief turned out to not be true. Can you remember something? Now, the example that I'm pulling out here is the example of Santa. And I'm really going to drive this home. I'm really going to drive home this example because I was just having fun with this over the weekend and just having a real good giggle to myself. So I come along for the ride. So when we were children, right, By the way, if you've got kids listening at all in the background, please remove them and listen to this somewhere safe so that you're not going to ruin Christmas for them. Go back to when you were a child and when you really believed that Santa was real. And go back to every Christmas when your parents got you really, really excited every single Christmas. Remember putting out the stocking and then putting out the milk or the cookies, or in my case, it was beer and birthday cake because my birthday is actually Christmas Eve. And so we always had leftover birthday cake. And think about how excited you were every Christmas morning when you used to get up and inspect your stocking and see what Santa had left you. And did you ever get a little bit anxious every Christmas, wondering if you were actually on the naughty list and you weren't going to get any presents this year? Right? And then for years, you never actually questioned it. You just went along with that story, with that lie. And you had all of the evidence in the world to support that Santa actually was real. Your parents actually made sure that you believed this. There was the milk and the cookies. There might have been a few crumbs left over. There might have been a few footprints left. There might have been the presents, or there were the presents that appeared. And that environment was perfectly constructed to make that belief feel so real, so undeniable, so that you would never question it, right? Our own beliefs about ourselves are very, very similar. And so what happens is we believe these beliefs for years. And then, coming back to Santa, at some point, as your little rational, logical, prefrontal cortex brain started to develop, you started to question the actual validity of Santa existing. You start to question how one man could fly all around the world in one night on a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. And you started to think about the logic, the logistics, and the impossibilities. And you started to go, hang on, this doesn't make sense. Even a jet plane can't fly around the entire world from one location in 24 hours. So how the heck is a dude on a sleigh pulled by reindeer who fly able to do it? Let alone stopping at every single household around the world and dropping off presents to every single child. I'm sorry, I don't think that can be done in a 24-hour period. And what about all the presents? Like, do you have any idea how many shipping containers of product actually flow into just one retailer in the lead up to Christmas? As an ex-retail buyer, I can tell you it's a lot of product. Christmas is the time for gift giving. It is where the retailers make most of their money. So can you imagine how much product Santa would have to try and get onto his sleigh? His sleigh wasn't big enough. And I doubt that reindeer can fly with all that volume of stuff either, right? Now it's starting to sound really impossible. And then let's take it a step further and let's think about Santa and all those elves up in the North Pole making all of those presents, right? And then you look at the tag and it says made in China. And then you think about all the thousands of factories over in China or other parts of the world, and then the thousands more factory workers that are actually making that stuff. And you start to compile all of this evidence. Like I'm sure that by the age of 12, you're not actually quite thinking that logically, but I just wanted to push this to the extreme and show ourselves how ridiculous some of these beliefs are. But think about it. As a child, you started to look at this concept of Santa being real, and you started to see things differently. The more you looked at it, the less it started to add up. And then you started to believe that, well, hang on, maybe my parents are not telling me the truth here. Maybe they are actually just wanting me to believe that Santa is real, and maybe it really is them. Maybe they are filling the Santa sack. Maybe it's mum eating the cake and dad drinking the booze, or at least it was in our house. And then this is the next part. Because your beliefs start to shift, what you do is you start looking for evidence of your new belief. So what do? You start searching the cupboards, you look under the bed, you look in the wardrobe, you poke in the garage, you're looking everywhere to try and find those presents so that you can prove to yourself that Santa doesn't exist and it is mum and dad all along. And then some of you found those gifts. I'm pretty sure we did at some point as well. And in that moment, that old belief, you were able to let it go. You realized it wasn't true. Not because somebody sat you down necessarily and logically explained to you why Santa wasn't real, but because you yourself started to question it and you started to look for the evidence of the opposite and you found it. Now, let me take this just a step further and let's just push this whole thing to a little bit more of an extreme, just for the heck of it. I want you to imagine that you never questioned whether Santa was actually real. No one ever told you he wasn't real. You never went looking for the evidence that he wasn't real. You never went searching in the cupboards for those presents. You just kept believing that Santa was real. And now here you are, you're 52 years old, and you still believe in Santa Claus. And yet, at 15 years of age, those presents stopped coming. Not because Santa doesn't exist, because you believe he still does, but for some reason you believe he just stopped choosing you. And somehow you had ended up on the naughty list and you weren't going to get any presents. So you spent years trying to figure out what you did wrong, why you were on the naughty list, why you were no longer worthy of his gifts. And was it something that you said or something that you did? Were you just not good enough anymore? And from that belief, the belief that Santa does exist, but he's chosen to reject you, then you built a whole new architecture of beliefs about yourself, about not being worthy, about being not good enough, about being bad, about how good things come to other people, but not to you. And then you walk through life with all of these extra beliefs, determining every single decision that you make from here on in. The sense that somehow you've been found lacking and that there's something fundamentally wrong with you, and that you never once questioned that original belief because it felt so true, because you'd seen the footprints, you'd seen the presents, you'd seen the empty plate of cookies. Can you see how ridiculous this all sounds? Right? And yet that's exactly what we do with our own limiting beliefs about ourselves, about who we are, about what we are capable of. We hold on to beliefs that are just collection of words that were handed to us before we had the capacity to question them. Belief about our worth, our capability, our potential. And then we spend decades building evidence to support those beliefs. We file every setback as proof that we can't, that somehow we're a failure. And that adds up to more evidence to support that belief. And we never go looking in that wardrobe for evidence of the opposite to show us where we can, that we are capable and we do have potential. So what happens if you leave your limiting beliefs unchallenged? Well, here's the thing about a limiting belief. Your beliefs actually drive every single action that you do or don't take. If you don't believe that you can succeed, you are either not going to try, or you're not going to put in 100%, you're going to half-ass it so that you don't get the result, and then you prove to yourself, see, I can't do it. Or you are going to set your expectations so stupidly high so that you can prove to yourself that you cannot meet those expectations and thereby prove yourself true again. So whatever the action or the inaction, it is always going to confirm the belief behind it, which might be, I can't. And the result of half-assing it, falling short of your stupidly high expectations of not trying, is more evidence to support that belief. And that evidence makes that belief feel more true, more real, which then makes you act in accordance with that belief yet again, which generates more evidence to support it. And it's this loop that just keeps going round and round and round. And you can stay in that loop indefinitely. You can reinforce that very story that is keeping you stuck with every experience that seems to confirm it. The belief creates the result, and the result confirms the belief until something interrupts the loop. And that's what today is about. It's supposed to be an interruption on some of these beliefs that you may have so that you can let go any of these beliefs that you are holding on to if you find them. My goal here today is to help you shift your perception about these beliefs enough so that you can just let them go. Alrighty, grab a pen and paper. We're going to get into it. We've got 7 to get through, so let's go. Belief number 1 is, it is hard for me. Let me talk about this one. I hear this one a lot. I want to be honest about it. You are right. Losing weight, changing your behavior, changing your habits, it is going to be hard. Not because there is something inherently wrong with you, not because the goal is impossible and you can't do it, but because anything worth achieving requires you to do things that you have not done before. And doing things that you haven't done before is always going to be hard at first. And that is not a problem. It's just how change works. But here is where that belief becomes dangerous. It's when you use hard as evidence that it can't happen for you. When the difficulty becomes the reason that you stop instead of the signal that something is actually being built. So I want you to think about this. If losing weight was easy, then everyone would be doing it. Nobody would struggle with their weight. It would be effortless, right? If changing your eating habits required no effort at all, no new thinking, no new behavior, no new wiring or rewiring of patterns that have been in place for decades, it would already be done. The fact that it is hard is not a signal that you are failing or you're incapable. It's a sign that you're attempting something that requires growth. And I want you to think about something that you can do effortlessly today that was once hard when you first learned it. Maybe something like driving a car. So remember that first time that you sat behind the wheel of the car? I certainly remember that. Think about everything that you had to think about so intensely, the accelerator, the brake, the clutch. I learned to drive a manual, so yes, we had the clutch. Think about the mirrors, not just you got the rear view mirror, you've got the side mirrors, you've got the steering, you've got the other cars on the road, you've got the road signs, you've got your speed, you've got how much you turn the wheel when you go around a corner so that you don't actually drive over the corner like I did. It was genuinely overwhelming that first time in a car. You had so much to think about. And yet now you're probably like me. You can drive halfway across town, have a conversation, not even notice where you're going. You kind of don't even remember the journey. Your body and your brain just do it all for you. You've got something else on your mind. You're singing to your favorite song. You're thinking about what you're going to make for dinner. You barely register that you're actually driving. It's just so automatic and easy. Other things that are very similar, where they're very hard to pick up in the early stages, that becomes so familiar over time, can be things like riding a bike, learning to type, picking up maybe a new computer system, learning a language or an instrument or a sport, starting maybe a new job where everything feels so foreign when you first walk in there and maybe still confusing for months after. Remember when I was a lingerie buyer for Maya, it took me at least 12 months to actually figure out what the heck I was doing. Being honest there. But every single one of these things that we attempt for the first time feels hard at first. And yet, you did them anyway. And then at some point, they stopped being so hard. Not because they actually got any easier, but you became more capable. And that's what is happening in your brain when you're learning new habits. You're literally building new neural pathways in your brain, new connections between neurons that didn't exist before. And that process is the effort. It requires a lot of concentration, it requires repetition, and it requires doing the thing when it feels awkward and uncomfortable and unfamiliar, because that discomfort is actually the sensation of your brain changing. So think about going to the gym for the first time and picking up a weight. It might feel heavy at first, and your muscles might shake, you might only manage a few reps, and then after a few weeks, that same weight can feel really light because your muscles have adapted and gotten stronger, not because the weight got any less. Because you did that hard thing consistently enough that your body had no choice but to adapt and grow. The same thing is happening in your brain when you are learning new eating habits, when you're listening to your hunger cues instead of masking boredom or quietening a craving, when you're pausing before reaching for food and actually asking what it is you need. Is that really hunger or is it something else? When you choose the Buddha bowl over the burger, it's going to be hard at first, and then it becomes less hard. And then it starts to become automatic. It's just what you do. And here's the thing I want you to really sit with right now. The fact that it feels hard is not evidence that it can't work for you. It's evidence that you are doing something new. And doing something new is exactly what is required to get that new result. So if you have been using hard as a reason to stop or a reason why it's harder for you or the reason why you can't get the result, I want to offer you a different way to hear it. Hard means you're growing. Hard means the neural pathways are being built. And hard means you are exactly where you need to be for change to actually happen. It doesn't get easier. You get stronger and more capable. If it's hard, it means you're on the right path. And we can make hard things become easier. All right, let's move on to belief number 2. I failed before, so I'll fail again. All right. Most of us have a completely backwards relationship with failure. And here is what I see happen. Someone who has tried to lose weight before, maybe multiple times. For some ladies I speak to, it's decades. They've been trying for decades and it doesn't seem to have worked, or it hasn't worked the way that they've hoped. Maybe they've just struggled to lose even a kilo or a pound, or they've lost the weight and it's come back again. And so they come to that conclusion that I can't do this. I'm somebody who fails. Weight loss always fails me, or I always fail at weight loss. And because I've failed before, I will fail again in future. So why put myself through it again? And I understand that logic. Like I do, because I was there in my 20s. If the not starting again or the not trying again, it feels like self-protection. It feels like you are actually saving yourself the pain of another disappointment. But here is what that belief is actually doing. If you see those past failures as a reason not to try, you're not avoiding failure, you're actually guaranteeing it. You're guaranteeing that you will not reach your goal because you've decided in advance that you can't, because of look at all of this evidence behind you that says that you will not again in future. It's not protection. It's just a slower, quieter way of telling yourself that you had no choice. Fearing failure isn't what keeps you safe. It keeps you stuck. And stuck is its own kind of failure, the kind that never actually works. So I want to offer you a completely different way of thinking about failure, not as something to be avoided, but something to be actively chased. And I know that probably sounds confronting, but stay with me here. I want you to go back to a time in the past when you tried something over and over and over and you kept failing, yet you still succeeded. And right now you're probably struggling to think of something, so I'm just going to give you something that you can think of. You probably don't have the memory for this, but this will hit home. Think of a baby when they were trying to walk. Like I say, you probably don't have the memory of when you were trying to walk yourself, but everybody has seen a little baby who's trying to stand up and trying to walk. And I want you to think about the effort that that little baby puts in every time to try and pull themselves up onto their little legs that are all wobbly and don't have any strength, and they pull themselves up and then they plop themselves down. They have many attempts at trying to pull themselves up. They have many failures of falling back down again. Not one time do they look at that evidence and say, oh, look at all these failures I've had. I guess that means I'm never going to stand up, so we're never going to try again. No. They don't get in their head about that. They actually look at the evidence that says, oh, everybody else around me can stand on 2 feet. I'm going to try too. And they keep trying until they get there. Now, the irony is that every time they try to stand up and fall down, they're actually building the strength and the capability in their physical body so that next time they try, they have more strength to be able to stand up. And that's exactly what I want you to see failure as here as well. Every time you fail, every time you don't succeed, it is data, it is learning, it is you getting stronger and more capable, meaning that next time you try, you stand a better chance of success. And another way to think about failure, I want you to think about people at the top of their field, say in business, in sport, in any area of meaningful achievement. They have not failed any less than anyone else. Many of them have failed so much more than the people who haven't succeeded. Michael Jordan was considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He has missed more shots than anybody else. I think something like 9,000 shots in his career. He's lost almost 300 games. 26 times he was given that ball to take that game-winning shot and he missed. And by his own account, he has failed over and over and over again. And he said that is why he became the greatest. Because failure means you're in the game. Failure means you're practicing. Failure means you're trying. You can't get better unless you're in the game. You can't get better unless you're actually practicing over and over and over. It means that you are trying. It means that you are giving it enough shot. You're giving it a go enough that you're making mistakes and you're getting feedback and learning what doesn't work so that you can find what does. You can't win a game that you're not playing. And you can't succeed at something that you're not attempting. So failure is not the opposite of success. It's something that we actually need to actively chase on the path to success. So bring this back to your weight loss journey for a moment. Now, every attempt that didn't go the way you wanted it, every plan that might have started off well on a Monday and then ran out of steam on a Wednesday, or the plan that went well for a few weeks and then fell apart after week 3 or 4, these are not proof that you can't do it. They are data and they're feedback. And that's your body, your life, showing you something about what does not work for you specifically. So the question is not, why do I keep failing? The question is, what is this failure teaching me? What needs to change here? What have I not tried yet? What part of that strategy maybe is wrong for me and the way I want to live my life? Because here is something that I know from years of working with women on this. Most of the time, all that's needed is just a shift in approach. Not a complete overhaul, not a starting from scratch, just a few pivots, a few tweaks, maybe a different approach to how they're trying to change their diet. One of my clients tried to change his eating behaviors for a whole year and kept struggling because of the way he was approaching it. When he came and worked with me, we slowed it down so that he was just focusing on one thing at a time. And within a few weeks, he was rocking it, whereas he'd tried a whole year on his own and was still failing. And this is why, one of the reasons why I strongly believe in coaching as well. Not just for the inner work that happens, the mindset work that happens with it, but because a coach can see what you can't see when you're inside of your pattern. When you're in it, it's invisible to you. So when someone's standing outside of it, they can spot exactly where you might be going wrong and what needs to shift and help you with that in a way that actually works with you. So I have coaches right now. I've got 4 coaches. Might sound a bit much, but they all help me with different things because we can't see our own blind spots. We can't see what needs changing. And when we can get somebody else's feedback on either what is not going well for us or how to approach something differently, it massively shifts the amount of time you spend in confusion trying to work it out yourself. So just because you've failed before doesn't mean you're not going to get to the goal. It just means you haven't succeeded yet, okay? And sometimes having somebody's eyeballs on what you're doing can help you get unstuck so much faster. All right, belief number 3, I will miss out. Yes, this belief is real, but I'm still going to challenge it because when you think about changing the way you eat, there is a part of you that genuinely grieves. It's going to grieve foods that you love. It's going to grieve the comfort of reaching for something familiar at the end of a hard day. You're going to grieve the pleasure of just eating whatever you want without having to think about it. And that feels like loss. And the loss is real. But I'm going to ask you something right now. What are you missing out on right now? Not in some abstract future sense, but right now. I want you to think about the last time you might have stood in front of your wardrobe and genuinely felt good about what you put on. Or the last time that you were able to walk into a clothing store and just pick anything off the rack and it just looked amazing on you. I want you to think about the photos that you may be avoiding, that you actually want to be in. I want you to think about whether you're missing out on holidays or adventures because you are now calculating whether your body can actually make it. I want you to think about whether you're missing out on trips or holidays because you're worried about whether you're going to be able to keep up with all the sightseeing that you know you're going to want to do, whether your body is actually going to allow you to experience the place in a way that you want to see it. I want you to think about, are you saying no to certain things, no to invitations, to opportunities, to adventures, because you're worried about your energy or your body or your confidence not being what you'd ideally like them to be? I want you to think about the things conceptually in life or actually in life that you might be missing out on now because you're not missing out on the food. So right now you might be using food to find comfort in your life. But the honest truth is that food can't give you comfort, not real comfort. It can mask discomfort for a moment, and it can provide a few minutes of relief from that feeling of not being where you want to be. But the moment passes, and then that feeling of discomfort is still there underneath it. And now you likely have guilt piled on top of it because of that food as well. You're not finding comfort in food. You're finding a temporary loan against discomfort of being in a body that doesn't feel like yours. And that comfort that you actually want, like that ease of movement through the world that feels so good, that confidence to walk into the room and not spend your mental energy managing how you look, and that freedom to just live without your weight being a constant background noise in your head, that comfort can't be found in food. It's on the other side of this work. And the joy, like let's talk about joy for a moment. You're not going to miss out on joy. You'll find it somewhere else. You'll find it somewhere that really gives you joy. The joy of walking into that clothing store and buying whatever you want. The joy of saying yes to the hike or the adventure or that travel. The joy of being fully present in a photo instead of trying to hide. The joy of having the energy at the end of the day instead of collapsing in a heap. The joy of being able to get down on the ground and play with your kids or your grandkids, or be able to take them to the park and be all over the swings with them, like I was with my nephew when he was younger, flying down the Flying Fox. So much fun. Right? You're not going to lose the pleasure of food. You're not going to lose pleasure forever just because you take away the food. Your taste buds will change. You will enjoy your new foods, and you're going to find genuine pleasure and joy in your new life. You're going to find genuine pleasure and joy in eating new foods, clean feeling foods that nourish you rather than leaving you feel full of regret and grief. And you're going to find pleasure in life. You'll find a bigger, fuller, more present life than you're actually showing up for, instead of watching it from the sidelines because your body or your energy or your confidence is holding you back. So when you say you're going to miss out, I want you to be really specific. What are you actually going to miss out on? Some foods, some habits, some patterns that have been very familiar for a long time. But what will you stop missing out on? You'll stop missing out on the life, the wardrobe, the confidence, the energy, the travel, your body moving pain-free through the world, your loved ones, your life. What would you rather miss out on? As a mentor I once followed used to say, you have to give up to go up. So what are you going to give up to make sure you go up? There is always a level of sacrifice in achieving goals. Okay, belief number 4, let's move forwards. I need to be perfect to succeed. For most of us, the belief that we need to be perfect That's not something we just picked up yesterday, okay? That one is one that we often picked up early in our childhood. Early when, in a time when being the good girl meant you received love and approval from your parents, or in school where doing everything exactly right was rewarded with, the big green ticks instead of the big red highlight and the cross that was evidence that you were failing. We learned that perfection equals success and imperfection is failure. And then we carry those beliefs into our adulthood as well. We carry them into our careers, our relationships, and every attempt at weight loss. So when we start this new way of believing, we have this belief that we need to be perfect in order to succeed. We're going to need to be perfect for a certain amount of time. And then we have one snack, one meal, one moment where that doesn't happen. It goes sideways. We make a decision that wasn't on plan. We have one day that just didn't kind of work out as we had planned. The perfectionism belief kicks in immediately and we believe, oh my God, I've ruined it. I've just ruined my chance of success. I've failed yet again. I may as well fuck it all up and start again Monday. And we do. Oftentimes. We often go and screw up the rest of the day. Sometimes days on end, sometimes months on end. And then we get our shit together again and we go, okay, right, let's start again Monday. This time, new sense of commitment, new perfect plan until that next imperfect moment. And then we're off again until we're ready to start again Monday. Hand up if you've done this one. And I'm putting my hand up here because, honestly, the amount of times I did this. This cycle is not caused by a lack of willpower. It's caused by this underlying belief that anything less than perfect is not worth it. And honestly, this is complete bollocks, and I want you to hear me out. I got to my goal without being perfect. I'm not perfect. Many of my clients have gotten to their goal not being perfect, whatever the fuck perfect is. And I'm going to give you another analogy here to, I guess, make you realize how ridiculous this is. I always say, you don't go and take to your car with a sledgehammer just because you got a tiny dent or a scratch. This is what I say to my clients who believe that one small overeat or off-plan eat means that they've failed and they've ruined it. And then they go beat themselves up for it. I say to them, hey, that's a dent. It's a scratch. Did you take to your car with a sledgehammer when you got a dent or a scratch? Did you decide that it was all over Red Rover and that car should be totally ruined? And they just look at me and they go, yeah, I guess you're right. That was a bit ridiculous. So it doesn't matter that you had an imperfect moment and an otherwise forward-moving journey. The right response to this is to notice what happened and learn from it and keep moving forwards. Not to take a freaking sledgehammer to your whole diet until you've really screwed it up. Right? A little 500, 300, whatever it is, calorie off eat. That's a dent versus a 3,000 calorie binge because you got out the sledgehammer. Let me tell you something about perfectionism that I think is really important for you to hear. It's not only not required, but it actually actively works against you. When you hold yourself to this standard of perfectionism, you're setting yourself up for that restriction and then rebellion cycle. So the tighter and the stricter the rules, the stronger the rebellion when you break one. This is the biology of your brain pushing back against deprivation and restriction. It's not weakness, it's just physiology. Research actually shows that allowing some intentional flexibility in your plan, not as like cheat days, because that to me is an all-out binge, getting the sledgehammer out, but like a genuine planned level of wiggle room in your general overall weight loss approach, it it actually creates better long-term consistency and adherence. Because it allows you to not feel like you're on a diet. And when you feel like you're not on a diet, it's just how you eat, you can be more consistent over time. I'm not 100% perfect with my food. Neither are my clients. I eat whole food, plant-based at home, but when I'm out, it is vegan and it's as healthy as it's as healthy as possible. I don't eat fried foods. I make sure I get lots of vegetables. I know that there'll be oils in the food. And occasionally, depending on what I'm choosing, there might be white flour. And very rarely, not very often at all, there might be something that is a faux meat if I fancy choosing that. But I don't really like faux meats that much, so that's not really a thing for me. I don't catastrophize over this. I don't make it mean that I've failed and therefore I should just completely abandon what I'm doing. I enjoy what I'm eating. I follow my hunger cues and I just move on. And I know now that this pattern for me is very sound. I know that this way of eating doesn't ruin the 95% of the time that I'm eating in a way that actually serves my health and naturally keeps me in a low calorie range, a calorie range that helps me to maintain my goal weight. And that 10% or that 5 to 10% does not undo everything else. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You don't need to follow every rule flawlessly. You need to be able to stay in a calorie deficit that you can maintain long term. And having flexibility is one of the core things to enabling that. And here's something really important that I want you to pay attention to. There is no such thing as perfect. No one person that you're looking up to, that you admire, has it all together. Nobody is actually perfect. The people who succeed are just consistent enough. And they have learned enough to know how to keep going after a dent instead of reaching for that sledgehammer. And you can do the same. Perfectionism was never the requirement. It was never the end point. We want consistency and something that we can live with for the rest of our lives. This is not a diet. This is a lifestyle that you need to be able to sustain. Belief number 5, my body is broken and there's something wrong with me. All right, this is one I do hear from many people, many women who have been trying to lose weight for a long time, because there is this underlying belief that can give you permission to stop trying. And that belief is that there is something wrong with your body is broken, your metabolism is damaged, hormones are working against you, maybe it's menopause, maybe it's PCOS, insulin resistance, maybe it's your age, you're just too old, it's harder for me than anybody else. And I want to say something that's a bit confronting. There is a well-documented psychological phenomenon that is actually called unique bias. And this is the tendency that we all have to believe that somehow our situation of struggle is way more unique, more complex, more special than anybody else's. And that somehow the rules don't apply to us. They apply to everybody else, but not to us. And the thing about this uniqueness bias is that it meets a very real human need. It meets this need for significance that we have. If you follow Tony Robbins and his 6 human needs, you'll know about the need for significance. And this is the need to feel that we matter in some way. The need to feel that our experience is meaningful. And we have positive and negative ways to meet our human needs. And we can meet our need for significance by achievement and accolade, or we can meet it by the fact that we are broken and everybody needs to feel sorry for us. And when life or achieving goals has been hard, when you've been really trying and struggling and not getting that result that you want for a long time, one of the ways the mind tries to meet that need for significance is by making that problem extra special. My body doesn't work the way other people's bodies do. I'm a unique, special case. I'm a unicorn. The rules don't apply for me. Something feels kind of powerful about the story. Like if my situation is unique, then my struggle is uniquely meaningful. And if my struggle is uniquely complex, then there's also nothing I can do about it. I'm not failing. There is just nothing I can do to change this result. I'm up against something that nobody else has to deal with, and there's nothing that I can do. And I say this with complete compassion because I understand I have been there. I told myself the exact same lies, that it works for everybody else but not for me. But I also have to tell you the truth because there is a cost to being a special unicorn for whom nothing works. If you are truly a unique case for whom the normal rules of human physiology do not apply, then nothing can help you. No strategy, no coach, no approach. You're beyond help. And so there's no point in trying. It gets you off the hook. That belief protects you from that discomfort of trying. And it also guarantees you never succeed. So let me offer you a different explanation for why it feels so hard. Your body isn't broken, it's just a perfect reflection of the inputs it's been given. Every single human body, including yours, responds to the same fundamental principles. Energy in, energy out, nourishment, movement, sleep, stress, habits. These are the basic levers, and they work. And they work in everybody's body, including yours. Let me tell you about some of the women that I've worked with. One of my clients, Bev, came to me. She said, I have PCOS, and everybody's told me this is why I can't lose weight. And yet she lost 80 pounds. Lisa had type 2 diabetes. Yet she lost 72 pounds and reversed her type 2 diabetes. She thought her body was broken. Annie came to me. Her body was physically broken. After cancer treatment, breast cancer treatment, she developed type 2 diabetes and fatty liver, and she was scared. She didn't think that she could change. She didn't think that she was going to be able to heal her body. And yet 65 pounds gone, fully reversed type 2 diabetes and fatty liver, and no more presence of cancer in her body. She felt amazing. Kathy was 77 when she came to me. She'd been on and off diets for 66 years. I think she tried about 14 different diets. I posted her story on the podcast last week. Yet she's 51 pounds down now. She told me it was the easiest weight loss she'd ever done. Because the first time in her life, she was not following diet rules. She was actually working with her body and her physiology, her biology, instead of fighting it. Trish had believed that something was wrong with her as well. She'd worked with a dietitian for over 2 years, could only lose 3 pounds. And yet she came to me and she lost 20 pounds with me in the first 6 months. And I think she's closer to 40 now. None of these women and any of the other women that I've worked with have had broken bodies. They weren't special unicorns, even though they might have thought they were. They were just missing something. They were missing a piece of the puzzle that once we identified it could actually change everything for them. And many of the women that I've been speaking to just recently on the weight loss audits that I've been booking, they've also thought that they've been special unicorns and couldn't work out why they couldn't lose weight. And yet in our conversations together, we were able to pinpoint the things that needed to change for them. And this is the difference between sitting there and trying to figure it out yourself and telling yourself that you're broken and actually getting someone's eyeballs on what you're doing. Okay? So, your body isn't broken. You're not a special case. You're not existing outside of the laws of human physiology. Your body is responding to the inputs. And when the inputs change, well, the outputs will change. You just need to know what they are. Okay? You're a human being with a human body that's doing what human bodies do. And it means you're not beyond help. You just need to reach out and get some help. And that's why I've got the weight loss audits happening at the moment. Feel free to book a call with me. I've got the link in the show notes. Let's jump on a call. Let's sit down and work out what you are doing, where you are, what you are doing, where you'd like to be, and we'll figure out what that gap is. Figure out what are the things that need to change so that you can get to the goal, right? You just need the right strategy and to get rid of some of these beliefs. Okay, belief number 6. If I change, people won't like me, people will judge me, I'll lose love. This one runs deeper than some people want to admit, because on the surface of it, it does sound silly. Of course, the people in my world love me. They were not going to leave me if I change how I eat. Of course, my friends and family will still be my friends and family. Under that rational thought, there is actually this very irrational, old, quiet fear. And that is that if I change, I'll no longer belong. And if I no longer belong, I'm not going to be loved. Belonging is that sense of really being accepted and safe within your group. And that's one of the most fundamental human needs that we have. This isn't vanity, it's actually wired into our nervous system at a survival level, because for most of human history, we had to belong to a group, a tribe, in order to feel safe. And if we started changing, if we were different to our tribe, well, we were cast out. And that meant certain danger, almost certain death, right? So it's very, very hardwired into us. And when we start to change, when we start to eat differently, we start to show up differently in social situations, when we start making different choices in our life, when we start getting different results and even looking differently, everybody's nervous system can start reading that as a threat, ours, our own, as well as other people's. Not because it is a threat, but because our brains are wired to pattern match. And if something isn't the same as us, our little amygdala goes, danger, danger, danger. And so what happens is when we start changing, we start to notice other people going danger, danger, danger. Our brain goes danger, danger, danger as well. And we start to hold back. We start to make decisions that don't align with our goals. Because underneath it somewhere, we are scared of losing that love and that connection and that sameness, that tribe. But I want to name something here. So if you find that you are sabotaging yourself in order to make other people comfortable, then the people in your life are not really getting the real you. They are getting an edited version of you that has been made up to keep them happy. A you that has been edited to avoid rocking the boat, like a mask that you've been wearing for so long that you've almost forgotten it's there. And you deserve better than that, and so do they. So let me talk about what actually happens when you start to change. Some people are going to be totally fine with it. They're not going to give a shit. They're going to celebrate you. They're going to be curious. They're going to be inspired. And then some people are going to get stupidly uncomfortable. And I want you to understand why. Because it's not actually about you. When you start making changes, when you're eating better, when you're losing weight, when you're genuinely taking care of yourself, you actually become like this mirror to other people. And the people in your life who are not doing a lot of those things to look after themselves, they then have to look at themselves in that mirror that you're holding up to them. And then what they see in that mirror makes them very uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable enough that they look inwards and ask themselves what needs to change within them so they feel better. But instead they look outwards at you. And so they try to get you to go back to what you were doing before and having the result that you were having before, so that they don't have to feel uncomfortable. So that might be the friend who says, go on, just have a drink. One drink won't matter. Come out for drinks with us. No, you're not drinking. Or it might be that family member who says, oh, go on, go and have a piece of cake. Or I made it just for you. Or somebody who says, you don't really need to lose weight. You look fine as you are. Or you better stop losing weight now. You're looking rather skinny. Or that person who says something about what is or isn't on your plate every single time. Where's the protein? Where do you get your protein? People are not trying to hurt you. They are just trying to relieve their own discomfort. And the fastest way to do that is to try and get you to change and go back to what you were doing so they don't have to look at themselves. But it's not your job to change them. It's your job to change you. Okay? Just let them feel uncomfortable. Let them feel the discomfort of your changes. It's okay. They're either going to get used to what you're doing or they won't. It's not your job to sabotage yourself to make them feel comfortable. Your job is to do the things that make you feel great and get you to your goal. Your job is also not to avoid being judged by others. Because the truth is that people are judging you anyway, right? They're judging you right now. It doesn't matter what the hell you do. People are just judgmental. It's what humans do. The question isn't how to avoid judgment. It's whether you're going to let somebody else's judgment determine what you do in your life, right? If you think about how much time you spent judging other people. Like, even if you look at somebody and like have a quick judgment about them, what is it, 2 minutes? So they're doing exactly the same to you. If they're judging you, it's like 2 minutes of their life. Don't give away your lifetime of goals because you're worried about someone's 2 minutes. How long are you willing to stay stuck for in order to avoid somebody else's discomfort? Make the changes. See who stays. See who doesn't. Because the people who genuinely love you are truly your people. They won't leave just because you start eating differently or doing things differently, having a different result. They do not give a shit. The people who really care about you. They're not going to withdraw their love because you chose to eat the salad over the burger. And the people who do pull away, they're actually showing you something about who they really are. They're showing you that the relationship was really conditional, and it was conditional on you being a certain version of you. That's not real love. That is actually just comfort seeking. So it's okay to let some people go. When you start changing who you're becoming, you start to find yourself gravitating towards new types of people who are living that more intentional, healthy way that you are adopting yourself. Because we are wired to fit in, okay? We're wired to match the people around us. And the beautiful thing is that when you start to gravitate more to people who live this way and not worry about trying to hold on to the old tribe who are not living your way, you start up-leveling your habits to fit in with the new tribe because we are wired to fit in. And if you start going back and doing your old habits, your new tribe will hold you to a new standard. They will say, no, this is how we do things around here. We don't do the late nights. We don't do the binges. We don't drive through Macca's at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's not how we do things around here. And so you adopt the behaviors of the new tribe. Your new tribe sets the new standard by which you live. So if the fear of judgment or losing people's love is stopping you from making the necessary changes that you want to make in order to get to the goals that you want, I'm going to remind you of this. You're not going to lose love. You'll lose some people who need you to be a certain way in order for them to love you. But you will find new people. Some people will accept you exactly as you are, the old version and the new version. And you will likely find new people who are going to help you on this journey. You do not have to choose between belonging and becoming. You just need to find a better tribe. And those tribes exist. I promise you, this is why I love my plant-based community. We are holding each other to a high standard. Last but not least, belief number 7, I have to do this on my own. This one keeps more people stuck than most any other, and it's that belief that you have to do it yourself. There is something in us, particularly us women, who have been strong and capable and self-sufficient their whole lives, and it feels like asking for help is a weakness, like somehow struggling through achieving a goal alone is way more noble, more worthy, or more proof that we earned it. But I'm going to tell you something personal. I tried to figure out weight loss on my own for over 20 years, and that's why it took freaking 20 years. 20 years of getting it wrong, stopping and starting and trying all sorts of different diets and tactics. I didn't realize that there were people like me out there who could guide me. Help me figure this thing out. Not just the nutrition, but the actual mindset, the identity, and everything underneath it. Help me figure out the life problems that were stopping me from consistency. I wasn't not capable. I couldn't see my own blind spots because none of us can. This is what makes them blind spots. And this is why people who are at the top of their game have coaches. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. Not one of them got to the top of their game without a coach. Like, if you want to go to the Olympics, you'll be pushing shit uphill if you think you're going to get there without a coach. Can you imagine Serena Williams, like, if she didn't have a tennis coach? People at the top of the game get to the top of their game. They succeed because they have coaches, right? This is what winners do. This is what successful people do. It's too hard for us to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone on our own. Your brain is not designed to push you outside of your comfort zone. It is designed to keep you well and truly in it. Comfortable, familiar, predictable, safe. That's what our brain wants. It doesn't want unfamiliar. That equals danger, danger, danger. Don't do it. And all of the beliefs that we've talked about today, these beliefs are part of what keeps us inside of the comfort zone. And they're the brain's way of making the familiar feel inevitable. Now, a good coach doesn't just give you a good strategy. They will help shift the shit that's in your head that is undermining the strategy. They're going to help you get out of the whirlpool of emotions and self-doubt that comes up when you think you're failing. They're going to look at your data with a fresh set of eyes and spot what you can't see because you're too close to it. It's too normal for you. And if you get to that stalling point, then your coach is able to look at your numbers, check your strategy, make a few tweaks and keep you moving without you needing to figure out the next step on your own. It needs the strategy and the internal work. That's what produces results. And here's what I know about the belief that you have to go it alone. It's not noble, it's not brave, it doesn't save you money, it's expensive. It costs you time, it costs you results, it possibly costs you health, and then all the expenses that come with failing health. It costs you the version of yourself that you could have become years earlier if you just stuck your hand up and asked for help. The most courageous thing that you can do is put your hand up and say, hey, I've been trying to figure this out on my own and it's not working. I need someone to help me figure out what I can't see. I had a bit of a shit-cracking moment this last weekend. I was cracking the shits about something in my business that wasn't going the way I wanted it to. And then my coach messaged me, hey, how's it going? And I said, you really want to know? And I gave it to her. I wrote it all out. And she came back and said, oh, that's cool. What about this? We'll just look at this part here, and that probably just needs some tweaking there. And once we've got that, it's all going to align. I'm like, oh, okay. We had a call on Monday. She set me straight, and now I feel good again, right? I feel like I'm on a roll again. Asking for help, having a coach is not weakness. That's exactly what successful people do. So if you want to win, if you want to be successful, you need to start thinking and acting like a successful person, which includes getting yourself some help, a mentor, an expert, a coach. This doesn't necessarily mean have to be me, but just someone that you gel with to get you out of your stuckness. The fastest way to stay stuck is to keep trying to get unstuck by yourself. This is exactly what I do with my clients. Like, we work on the strategy, the food, the habits, the foundations, and we work on the internal shit as well. The beliefs, the patterns, the wiring, the emotional crap that's trying to get us off track. We have to work on it all together, and a good coach will do that for you. So if you have been going at this alone and not getting where you want to be, you're not sure if it's strategy or if it's internal shit, right? This is your sign. Book a call with me that we'll sit down and do that weight loss audit. The link is in the show notes. Let's figure this out. We'll figure out where you are. Is it strategy that's off? Is it internal shit that's off? And then we'll work out what needs to change. Done. You'll go away, even if you don't sign up with it. There's no pressure, but you'll at least know what you need to do to move forwards. Stop trying to do it all on your own. Get some support. All right, now. Told you this was going to be a big one. Let's bring all of these 7 together. All right, 1. It's going to be hard. Yep, absolutely. Hard is not a reason to say no. Hard is not a reason to stop. It's a sign that you're actually changing and that you're building something new. I want to remind you that you have done new things and you've done hard things before, and this isn't any different. So don't let hard be the reason why you say no or that you stop. Number 2, I have failed, so I will fail again. Failure in the past doesn't predict failure in the future. It's not a verdict about who you are. It's data, it's feedback. And it's the only way that you can learn about what doesn't work so that you can not keep trying the same thing over and over, and you can actually change and more likely succeed in future, right? Failure is a necessary thing, a necessary part of success. And the most successful people in the world have failed far more than you. Number 3, I'm going to miss out on joy and comfort and pleasure. You're already missing out on real joy, comfort, and pleasure, right? You're just seeking it in food right now instead of getting it from your life and your body and your health. So you're already missing out. You're just switching what you're missing out on. You're always going to have to miss out on something if you want to succeed. Success does require sacrifice, but you're not going to miss out on comfort, joy, and pleasure. You're just going to change where you get them from. Number 4, I need to be perfect or it doesn't count. Bollocks. Perfectionism is the reason that you're not succeeding, because you're a human being. No human being can be perfect, and the idea is not perfection, it's consistency. And a little bit of imperfection on the journey is what allows you to be more consistent. Your body is broken. No, it's not. Your belief is. So your body is responding to the inputs that you give it. Change the inputs and the outputs change, right? You've got a human body that works the same way as everybody else's. You just can't see the inputs that are keeping you stuck. This is why getting help gets you unstuck. Stop believing that shit and get yourself some help. Number 6, if I change, people will judge me or I'll lose love. Yeah, sure, some people will. Let them. And others, they're going to celebrate you. And you know what? You might find another tribe that actually holds you to a higher standard. You're not going to lose love. You're just going to lose the love of the people for whom your love is conditional. Number 7, I have to figure this out on my own. Bollocks. Successful people don't try and figure shit out on their own. They get help. They understand that they don't know it all yet. Even if you think you know it all, if you're not succeeding, you don't know it all. Right? People who succeed don't have big egos. They don't say that I should know everything. They get themselves mentors, coaches, support. They go into masterminds, all sorts of things. There's all sorts of ways that you can get support. They ask for help. Asking for help isn't weakness. It is what winners do. All right, 7 beliefs, 7 stories that have been quietly ruining your results. None of them are facts. All of them can be changed. So, did you find any in amongst there that you were holding on to? And what are you going to do to let it go? Have I shifted your belief enough today to help you let it go? Your results are not just determined by what you know, they're determined by what you believe. And what you believe you can change. Okay? You need the strategy and the internal wiring, the internal belief systems, and all the other internal crap to support the strategy. All right. Thank you for joining me, team, today. If this episode has helped you and you think there might be somebody else in your life who probably needs to hear it too, then please feel free to share this episode. I would love for you to help that person who needs it too. Please also leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. It just takes 2 minutes, and honestly, it really helps just to get this message out to more women out there who need this help, who need this support. And if you're sick of trying to figure it out on your own and you're ready to get some support, please book a weight loss audit call with me. The link is in the show notes. We'll sit down and we'll work out where you are, what you've been trying, where you want to be, and what are all those missing pieces in the middle that need to change, and we can map out a way from you to get from where you are to where you want to be so that you can get unstuck and start moving forwards. All right, team, that's it for me today. Take care. I'll see you next week.